Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I thought I'd take a page out of Mr. Hockey Junkie's book of ideas, and I'm going to be doing my top 10 Montreal Canadiens prospects. He just made a video on his top 5. I suggest you guys go and check it out. He makes great content, so just putting that out there. I'm not trying to rip him off. Just got inspired by his video idea and thought I'd do my own list. So yeah, without wasting any more of your time, let's get into my top 10. The Montreal Canadiens games are at most times pretty boring when all our guys are injured. But one thing that's been continuously entertaining these past 2 years have been the prospects, because they have been growing their game and they just seem to be hitting a new level every couple of weeks. And like I said, in today's video, I'm going to be listing you my top 10 prospects in the Montreal Canadiens prospect pool. I'm going to tell you why, what I think they might turn out to be, and all of that good stuff. Feel free to tell me in the comments if you agree or disagree, why or why not. And yeah, let's get into my number 10. At number 10, we have Adam Engstrom. Adam Engstrom is a left-handed defenseman who is only 19 years old and has been playing in the SHL. He's one of the prospects that I've kept a closer eye on ever since the World Juniors, where he represented Sweden. He's a pretty solid defenseman. He's very good at moving the puck around, creating offensive plays. He has a very nice offensive touch to him. The only downside is that the Montreal Canadiens left-handed defenseman list is very long, and there may not be any room for him when he grows out to be a great player. Now, in 43 games with the SHL this year, he put up 16 points, and in 9 games played in the playoffs, he put up 5 points. Pretty good numbers from Adam Engstrom. Now moving on to number 9, we have Riley Kidney. Now to me, Riley Kidney is, I think, someone who is really under the radar, and I think he's improved his game a lot. Specific things to notice in his game change are things like cutting to the middle of the ice, driving the offense, taking more shots. All of those things have been getting a lot better, and it's some great stuff to see from a young forward. Kidney had a total of 110 points in only 60 games played. I know it's the Q, it's not the strongest league in the Canadian junior leagues, but he proved last year that he could be a top pointer, and he's continued it this year while working on other aspects of his game. I believe that Riley Kidney will find himself in Laval next year with the Rocket, and I think he's going to have a lot of fun there and get the chance to improve a lot more things, because the skill caliber and the competitiveness is just way higher. Now we're going to be moving on to number 8, and I have Jakub Dobiš. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He is a very young goaltender and looks extremely promising. And if you know anything about the Habs right now, goaltending is an issue we must address. Dobiš had an extremely successful year in the NCAA, and he was currently finishing off the year in Laval. I'm not sure if he played any games, but he was the backup there, and I expect next year for him to play way more games. He looks very athletic, and he looks like a very possible future goaltender for the Habs. Maybe not a starter, but definitely a very good backup. Now it is time for who I have for number 7, and this prospect did not have the best year, but it is Philip Machar, someone who we selected 26th overall last year. He had himself quite a good camp, quite a good rookie tournament, and looked very promising, but when he got to the OHL, he just did not perform as well as we thought he should. But to me, that was completely normal, because it's a completely different playstyle than the playstyle he was used to playing in Europe. I expect him to play one more year in junior next year, and then hopefully join the Laval Rocket for the remainder of their season next year. That's just my prediction. But in 52 games played this year, he put up 51 points, and in 9 games played in the playoffs, he put up 4. It's not that great, but you know what? It's definitely something that he's going to improve on next year. Don't give up on Philip Machar already. He'll be just fine. Now we are going to be moving on to number 6, and this is where it gets interesting, because I think a lot of people forgot about this guy, and I have Emil Heineman. He had one of the better camps last year in the development camp. He looked great in the rookie tournament, and he went off to play in Europe for the season, not playing the most offensive year possible, let's say. But once that season was over, he came over to Laval and joined the Rocket and was doing amazing. He at one point had 7 goals and 1 assist in 7 games. He was a big reason why the Laval Rocket even made the playoffs. He's someone who I think might just make the roster next year for the Montreal Canadiens, If not, he'll be on the Laval Rocket, and just like any other year, the Habs will probably have injuries, and he'll be probably one of the first to get called up, if anything. Alright, now it is time for my top 5, and I'm sure you guys kind of know who the top 5 is, but I think my listing is a little different than other people's. So at number 5, I have Owen Beck. We drafted Mr. Owen Beck 33rd overall last year, the first pick of the second draft day, and he's been a pleasant surprise. He didn't have the most amazing offensive year. In only 60 games played, he put up 66 points, but it's not that bad because he got traded to the Peterborough Petes, and I'm pretty sure he had more of a defensive role on that team. But that just goes to show you how he's a very versatile player. One of the first things we noticed when he joined the development camp was that he was pretty solid offensively and very good defensively as well. He ended up getting called up to play with Team Canada due to some injuries and other players, and he really made the bottom 6 look extremely good. Owen Beck is someone I expect to see in the Habs lineup in about 2 to 3 years as a bottom 6 center. Now we're going to be moving on to number 4, and I have Joshua Roy. Some people might have him a lot lower, some people might have him even higher, but I think he's one of our best prospects, and let me tell you why. I think his just hockey IQ is above anybody else that we have in our prospect pool. He's very talented defensively, he's even better at creating offense, and he does this all in a very slick way. He doesn't look like he needs to put in all that much effort, but he seems to always make the right play. And we saw that a lot in the World Juniors. He put up a couple points. He got a lot of nice goals. He had this one crazy penalty kill where he just made the other team lose so much power play time. And, he was just a solid asset to that Team Canada World Junior team. And he really looked nice next to Bedard. So, hopefully Bedard comes to Montreal. Maybe that'll be nice. But yeah, Joshua Roy, one of the most versatile prospects we have. Good in every single category. He's still only 19 years old, and this year in 8 playoff games, he has 21 points. That is crazy. And I don't want to hear any comments about how that's just the cue. The league is weaker, it's easier to put up points. Okay, maybe. But 21 points in 8 games in the playoffs is outstanding, and it's definitely not a normal thing to do. So Joshua Roy, one of our top 5 prospects. Top 4, I have him. Now moving on to the top 3. I have Sean Farrell in our 3rd spot. I almost put him at 4 and put Joshua Roy at 3. But I think Sean Farrell has a little bit higher of an upside. I think he's a second line kind of player. He has a crazy offensive vision, very good playmaker. The only problem is his size, and I don't want to be that guy that says size matters, because we all know it's how you use your size that really matters. And I think that'll just be the toughest aspect for Sean Farrell's NHL career. But other than that, I think everything will be just fine in a couple years' time. I think he'll be with the Laval Rocket to start next year. He looked a little shaky in the Montreal Canadiens uniform, and that's just because he probably wasn't NHL ready yet. He had an amazing NCAA season, top of the league in points, but just wasn't NHL ready yet. But he's very close. So I think one season in Laval, and he's going to be looking very nice. Now we are moving on to the top 2. At number 2, I have Logan Mailloux, which I think is a lot higher than most people. But this guy, he's the real deal. I'm going to be honest. He probably needs 2 more years until he's an NHL player. Maybe 1 if he continues to develop the way he is. But he's been extremely good this year, despite missing the past 2 years of consistent hockey, whether it was because of, the obvious thing that I'm not going to say, or it was injuries, stupid fights, the list goes on. He missed a bunch of time. But this year, he led all defensemen in goals. He even pulled off the Michigan at some point to complete a hat trick. And he's doing very well in the playoffs right now. So I really think Logan Mailloux is a top 2 prospect for us because he really looks like a Shea Weber to me. He obviously has to work a bit more on his defensive skills, but his offensive talent is no question there, and it's going to be up to the NHL level, no doubt. And now, the number 1 prospect. I think everyone has him at number 1 on their list, and that is Lane Hutson. I mean, what more needs to be said about this guy? In my opinion, he should have won the Hobey Baker. He put up record-breaking numbers as a first-year NCAA defenseman. People criticized him all year long because of his size, and we got this guy 62nd overall. He even grew a couple inches this year. That's just the perfect year for Lane Hutson. He got an award every week of the year. I am not kidding you. Broke records. and he had a pretty good run in the playoffs. He will be returning to the NCAA for another season, which is perfectly fine, and I expect him to join the Laval Rockets once his season is up, if the Rockets are still playing. Anyways, guys, that is going to be all for my top 10 prospects list. Let me know down in the comments what your top 10 list would be. I'm very interested to see where you guys have these players ranked up. Do you have anyone higher, lower, or people I didn't even mention? Anyways, guys, that is going to be all for today's video. If you did enjoy, don't be afraid to hit that like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Now, with that being said, I'll see you all next time. Take care.